been cleaning it up for several months now, and every time I have a little bit of time, I'll come and clean it up. I'll scrape some of the dirt and the dust off. This thing was filthy dirty. It was completely packed with grease and dirt and just years of hydraulic oil and just grease just flowing down this thing. I'll throw a couple of pictures up so you can see the before. But every spare moment that I had, I would just clean this thing up. I got a grinder and a wire wheel, and I just hit every surface that I could. And then I took everything that I could off of the machine so that I could get a decent paint job on it. Now it's not perfect. It's not as good as I would really like it to be, but to get this thing perfect, you really have to just completely disassemble it. There's a lot of dirt and grease in areas that are hard to get to. So if I wanted to do a pristine paint job on this, I would have to break it down almost completely, which I just really don't have it in me to do that. I think putting a nice, good paint job on this over the surface will be good enough. I got it clean, so that's a huge step forward, is just getting this thing clean. And I'm going to paint it a gray color. It's going to be a little bit darker gray color, but it's still going to be gray. I think dark gray will help hide some of the dirt and grime. The areas that still have dirt and grease on them, I can paint over them, it'll look decent, but over time, that grease and stuff's gonna come off and the paint's gonna come off with it. But I'll deal with those issues as they arise. So I'll just show you around the shear here. I'll show you the work that we did, how much we really did clean it, some of the problem areas, and then we'll get started. So we've taken everything off the front, all the plate holders or plate racks, I don't know what you call them, but they're the guides that help roll the plates in. We've taken those off. I'm going to paint those, but I'm going to do it later. I've taken the cover off. I'm going to try my best not to get in here. Now this is still really dirty back in there, and it's going to get covered up anyway, so I didn't pay too much attention to it. I just got some of the big stuff off. All these holes are completely packed full of just grease, so we cleaned all those out the best that we could. And you can see in here that these holes are still packed pretty well. This one's completely packed, but I don't feel like going and cleaning each one of those out. I don't really think it's worth it. You can see the top of this plate has a lot of surface area here. Now I'm still debating on if I'm going to keep this thing or not. If I do, I'll probably put some kind of logo or writing or something cool, because there's a lot of surface area right here on top to actually make this thing look pretty cool. But we'll see. Now on the back here, back in where the blade is, that's where it's real hard to get to. You can see like right here is all this grease and stuff. You want some of that because that lubricates that pin right there. So I'm not going to mess with it too much, but that'll be an area where we'll paint it, and then over time that paint will come off. But we got as much as we could back in there. I mean, this thing was completely full of just dirt everywhere. You can see right there, just kind of that area right there. That's pretty much what the entire machine looked like, just covered with that dirt. We've taken all the hydraulic and solenoids, actuators off the back of this thing, and then capped everything. If you're wondering what that noise is, those are our tornado sirens. So here in the great state of Oklahoma, it's not uncommon for a nice day like this to quickly turn into a tornado problem. So every Saturday they run those tornado sirens right at 12 o'clock to test them, make sure that they're working properly. So for those of you that's never experienced a tornado, that's life here in Oklahoma. All right, so I'm going to blow this thing off, get all the dirt away from this thing as I can, as much of it as I can, and then we'll get to painting it. Okay, now I'm going to get the paint ready. This is the paint that we're going to use here. So it's about the same color gray. I think it's a little bit darker, but we're pretty close. You got to make sure you stir this this paint up really well. I get my paint locally from a place called Crown Paint Company, and they manufacture their paint here locally in Oklahoma, and this is oil-filled industrial type paint, like the stuff that they paint BOPs and valves and all that surface system for oil and gas equipment. A lot of the companies, they use their paint here locally, and that's why I use it, just because this is called quick dry. It dries faster, it dries harder, and it can take a lot of abuse. It's not the absolute best stuff, but it's pretty good. This is a single coat process. If you want the absolute best paint there is, I believe it's a two-part process. Some of them maybe even three. Yeah, three-part if you want to do like a primer or a base coat, and then you take the paint, and then it has an additive to it that makes it cure like really, really hard. And you will mix the additive. Usually it's, I don't know what it is. We'll just say it's like a 1 to 4 additive. 1 part of the accelerator, and then 4 parts of the actual paint. And for your real heavy duty industrial stuff, that's what they require you to do. So you have to put a base coat and then 2 parts of paint. So it requires 2 coats that 2 times you actually have to paint the actual surface. But we're not going to get that crazy. This stuff is plenty strong enough. I've used it for a long time. I use it for almost everything that I paint that's metal, and it works really well. So I've gotten all the discoloration out of the paint. That means I've got it mixed up really well. Whenever you stir this on the bottom, you can kind of feel all the heavy stuff fall to the bottom. So now I'm getting a pretty consistent, I don't know what you would call this, stir, I guess. I'm getting a consistent stir on this. And then the paint is also falling consistently off the stick. Now, I need to thin this down. I've already got my thinner here in this bucket here. And it's not, you know, real critical. If it's too thin, I put more paint. If it's not thin enough, I add more thinner. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this in here. Now I've got to get the paint and the thinner stirred up really well. I can feel this. This is probably a little bit too thin, but I'll show you how I fix it. Okay, this is a 3M cup replacement system. I don't know what they really call this, but they're replaceable cups. So instead of having to clean out your cup every time you use it, you can pour it in here. You can use this multiple times for the day, and then you can chunk this. Here's an old one here that I used. Here's another one. So I just chunk these out and move on to a fresh clean cup. The other reason why I really like these is because it creates a vacuum, a suction. So on a standard cup, you can't turn it upside down because you'll spill your paint. But with this, you can turn it upside down any way you want, and it actually creates a vacuum and it sucks the paint up. So this could be upside down and it's still sucking the paint through the gun, whereas regular conventional gun, it has to, it's gravity fed, so you can't turn it upside down because the paint falls to the bottom. You've got nothing but air and you're sucking air. But with this, you can turn it any way you want and you're sucking paint the whole time. Since I got this a little bit too thin, I'm going to pour some paint into this to thicken it up. And we'll give this a shot. You can see I'm not really very clean here. This is pretty dirty. Typically in a painting environment, you want it really clean. But this is industrial stuff. This is heavy duty paint, and I'm painting a filthy, dirty piece of metal over here. So the cleanliness is not really that important. It's not like I'm painting a car or anything. This is still a little bit thin, but that's okay. Typically when I paint, I like to shoot a really thin first coat. And the reason why I do that is because that first coat is not really thick, but it puts some paint on there. I let it dry just a little bit and it makes a sticky surface. I want that sticky surface so that when I come back with a heavy top coat, it's got something to grab onto. It's got that thin top layer that's already starting to dry, which will really grab the thick layer the second time I come around. And the reason why you do that is because if you spray too much or if you spray too thin, you'll get a lot of runs in your paint and it just doesn't look good. One thing I don't like about these cups is this plastic holder and this cap right here. It's kind of cheesy, it's flimsy, and if you get just a little bit of paint in there, it kind of damages it. So it would be nice if they would sell like an aluminum cup and cap for this, and then have the removable filters. But I guess they want you to buy as many as possible. So the other thing is that this has a special adapter that fits. So this is a standard cup gun here. I'm going to take this off. And then you have this special adapter that fits on your gun that holds that cup secure in place. And this fits over the top and then locks in. Just like that. Now I can take this gun and turn it upside down, sideways, any way I want, and I will get a consistent spray. All right, we are ready to put the first coat on this shear.
This time back was put on the hat.
Yeah, I'm making a video, Lee.
Huh?
I'm making a video.
I got it.
Yeah. Okay, the shear is ready to get put back together. Here is the cover. I had to clean this up, get all the dust off. I tried to straighten it out as much as possible, but it was pretty bent up. And then this guard right here, it was just expanded metal. I just took it completely out because it was busted through and ripped open, so I just took it out. I'm not gonna deal with it right now. Here are the, I don't know what these are, guards, or basically it's the rack to lay the plate on so that you could, it'll hold the plate in place so you could push it to the desired length that you want to cut it. Here are all the hydraulics that press down to hold the plate steady while it chops it up. And you can see the shear is completely dry now. Overall, it turned out really well. It's not perfect. There's a lot of areas that could be better, but this is an industrial machine and most people really don't care. So it looks 100 times better than when I picked it up with grease and dirt just completely caked on it and running off of it all over. Here's a set of extra blades here. So this is what the blades look like out of the machine. These came with the machine. These look like they're stainless steel. Nothing, you know, too crazy. It's just squared metal and they're probably hardened somehow. So when this corner meets that corner, that's what's capable of shearing. It's just brute force, just hydraulic pressure coming down on two opposite sections of the plate and shears it completely off. Here's the back of the machine. So I'm ready to start assembling all the components, hydraulic filters, solenoids, all that stuff. I tried to clean them up as best as possible. Excuse me. I tried to get them cleaned up as best as I could, but there's a lot of crevices and stuff in here, and I just don't think it's that critical. I'm not going to spend hours and hours trying to get these perfect and back to mint condition, but I got them close enough. I got a lot of the dirt that was on it taken off. Now we are ready to start assembling this whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff installed. I'll come back and I'll show you how it all looks whenever I'm done.